Hello there YouTube, my name is Chuggy and today I'm playing some Mass Effect 3. Playing some online multiplayer here with Matt and Tom as usual, and today, well, I'm going to be talking about two things. First of all, I'm going to be talking about Mass Effect 3 as a game. I'm going to give my initial impressions. I've had some time with the full release now, and also on top of that I'm going to be talking about this thing I call OODA, this technique I have when I play games. Now, what I'll do first, though, is talk about Mass Effect 3. Obviously, it's the new hot topic in town, as, well, it's only just been released here in Europe and the UK. I got my copy on Thursday, lucky old me, and, well, I've had the opportunity to play, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 hours total, and certainly I think I've got, well, my initial impressions relatively summed up, so I thought I'd share them with you. So, first of all, I'll say off the bat that I'll try and avoid spoilers. In fact, I'll say that I'll avoid them completely. Because obviously Mass Effect 3, it's the end of the trilogy, and obviously a lot of people will be very interested to see how it all ends. Now, from what I understand, the actual ending, well, in fact, actually the whole way the game plays out, it's radically, it's very, very dependent on the decisions you've made. For example, in this particular game, as it just so happened, this was our first time on, I think this map's called Dagger, Fire-Based Dagger, something like that. We were just talking amongst ourselves, sort of the experiences we have had with the single player so far. And it was interesting, because I had, well, at least a few interesting events occur in my game which hadn't have happened in, say, Matt or Tom's, and certainly it seems like the decisions we've made along the way are tailoring basically to a radically different game. Or ending to the game, obviously depending on those decisions we'd made. So certainly I think, if you'd played Mass Effect 2 one particular way and Mass Effect 1 another particular way, you'd get a completely different outcome to someone else who maybe have played Mass Effect 2 the same way as you had, but Mass Effect 1 maybe not. It's certainly an interesting way of doing things, and apparently over 1,000 decisions are being pulled into Mass Effect 3 if you bring across a game save from Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 1. So very, very interesting indeed. And for those of you who have played the demo, you'll be aware that obviously you're dropped right into the thick of things. This isn't really a spoiler, it's pretty much well-known knowledge, but Mass Effect 3 focuses on the invasion of the Reapers, this machine race which has been wiping out organic life every 50,000 years. And the time is up for this cycle, as it were, and it's a fight to try and stay alive, is the long and short of it. So certainly, the invasion is literally colossal. If you'd played the demo, you will have seen that when the Reapers attack Earth, they go properly full out to cause some damage and destruction. And certainly, I've been to a few other planets, and it's the same everywhere. And the thing which struck me is that, blimey, this is a proper attempt here to really do some serious, well, genocide? Well, we're wiping out completely of races. The Reapers, they are not kidding around here whatsoever. And it's so much to that degree, in fact, that after one particular mission on a moon, I'll say no more than that, you look up at the sort of planet that this moon is orbiting, and you just see the thing glow orange in places, just where, fires and everything else. And you kind of go, wow, there's a load of, beings down there. And I know it's daft, it's a game and all, but still, you kind of go, damn, there are, quote-unquote, lives down there being lost to these guys, and you can see it all. And it certainly does give you a sense of scale that, you're nothing, really, but you have the power to do something. And really, I think that's where a lot of Mass Effect 3's, appeal will be. That, if you've played the previous two games, I expect more than likely you will have picked up Mass Effect 3 just to find out how it all ends. But literally, it seems like just how the game will play out, you will be making, the final fundamental decisions which will influence this war. And, well, who knows what happens, but certainly, anything could happen, I think, and it's up to you really, how things play out, the decisions you've made. Certainly there are a few decisions I've made in Mass Effect 2 which I'm now regretting, let me put it like that. So the story I'm really smitten with. I won't talk about it really much more than that, but certainly it's got a lot of depth to it. It certainly has placed you in the world, immersed you in the world, and, well, I just want to play some more of it. To put it like that, to be honest. Cracking game. so far. Really enjoying it, and I can't recommend it enough. And like I said, you know, if you've played the previous games, I don't know why you'd need me to say this, but pick this one up. And even if you haven't played it, pick this up. And if you feel in such regard that you want to play the previous games, by all means go and do that. They're great games as well. So the story, my experience of the story so far has been glorious. Really, really enjoyed the situations it's put me in, and just, you know, as a direct result, I've enjoyed things, because, you know, it's made me feel responsible, it's challenged me, and personally anyway, you know, I do like a good challenge from a game, you know, I don't like it to be too easy. So very, very good indeed. There are a few gripes, though, that I have, and mainly it pertains to two things. So first of all, the controls. I have a bit of a problem with the controls, and mainly on the PS3 anyway, it's the X button. It just simply does too much. It's crouch, it's action, not crouch, it's take cover, it's action, it's roll, it's all sorts. There's one instance fairly on in the game where you need to take cover to advance down a corridor. And basically, because I was trying to roll around to try and get to cover, I got to the actual piece of cover, I was pressing X, and it continued to roll. So, you know, I had input on the left stick, say, or something. And basically I died, because I wasn't able to snap in together and thus, you know, protect myself from the incoming fire. So that's one gripe I have. The other gripe I have is pretty much specific to the PS3 from what I'm hearing. That basically there's a few performance issues on the PS3 version, which is very unfortunate, where frame rate and such will be dropped, and it's noticeable, unfortunately. The game appears to be running on console anyway at 30 frames per second, or should be, but certainly the PS3 version, I have definitely felt it slow down to quite a bit less than that. And well, this morning I decided to wake up, check the internet, went over onto Reddit, and sure enough I saw a link over there from Eurogamer showing that the PS3 version has some real considerable frame rate issues, properly chugging through some scenes. Dropping down, you know, 20 to 18, 16 frames a second, and that, to the human eye, you know, the difference might not sound much, but it's very noticeable, and it breaks up the immersion. And unfortunately, it just seems to be that these holes, these gaps in the frame rate appear at critical points, you know, in massive battles of scale and things like that, where you really have to focus. And unfortunately, you know, what do you focus on when the second the frame rate drops? The frame rate, not what's actually going on. So a bit of a shame there, but thankfully, you know, in the 5, 6, 7 hours I don't know I've played the game, it's only happened a couple times, but still, it's affected some, well, I think relatively key moments, and obviously I'm going to remember that, the fact that the moment was spoiled rather than the actual moment itself, which is unfortunate, but it's the way it goes sometimes. Anyway, so those are my only two real gripes. X does too much, and I guess I think it's A on the 360, I think maybe space, because I've seen jokes about space doing too much, I can only assume it's the same thing. On other platforms, and basically the frame rate issues on the PS3. Other than that, you know, I'm really enjoying the game. I really cannot complain whatsoever. And, well, the multiplayer component, especially, well, if you've played the demo, you know what to expect. And if you haven't played the demo, I can, well, briefly talk you through it now. So, the long and short of it is players versus environment. 4-player fuel co-op. There are a load of enemies in the area, there are waves to survive, and within that, some of the waves have you do little objectives. So, for example, in this wave right here, we've got 4 devices we need to attack and basically take control of. And essentially, the quicker you do it, the more money you earn. You might go, well, money, what's the point of the money? Well, the way that you actually unlock things and upgrade things is via basically a trading card system, and you buy booster packs. Now these packs range from 5,000 credits to 60,000 credits, and obviously the more expensive packets or the packages will have better gear in them. So you've got to make sort of a real-time decision of, well, do I play on the harder difficulty to earn more money, whereas obviously it'll be more difficult, and obviously you'll need to use more resources to survive. You know, is the trade-off there worth it? Or should I, you know, play on the easier difficulty and just play more? You know, it's a decision you have to make based on the confidence of, you know, your skill with your character and such. And it makes a nice change of pace. Certainly, you know, most games these days, first-person shooters in particular, you know, you just get to a rank, you unlock it. At least with this system, it gives a bit of variety. So, for example, off the bat, everyone is given a starter kit, which contains, I think, 5 or 6 items. And for example, I got this guy here, the Tyrian soldier, as part of my pack, and well, that's the player I've been using basically. Whereas Matt and Tom, they got different things. So basically, the second you go into the game, you'll be in a different situation to everyone else. Which makes the whole experience, well, first of all, very personal, but also very dynamic. It makes every sort of instance very, well, different, basically. Very, very variable indeed. And I like that a lot. It's something a little bit different, something I haven't played before, so I'm enjoying it personally. And certainly, in the later levels when things get particularly hectic, when the adversaries pull in the properly big backup, for example, that giant red thing I just shot there was a Geth Prime. You really got to work together, focus, pool your resources, and get the job done. So very enjoyable multiplayer, all in all. Now, unfortunately, it was my understanding that your progress from the demo's multiplayer would carry a cost. That isn't the case, unfortunately. You've got to start from scratch. But to be honest, basically for the reasons I've just mentioned, I don't really mind that whatsoever. I like the characters that I produced for sure in the demo, but it just gives me the opportunity to explore other means. I get kind of the idea of how the system works now in terms of unlocking equipment, that kind of thing, and certainly enjoying the game a lot more now that I know what I'm doing with the multiplayer unlocks and such. So the multiplayer, very, very impressive indeed. One thing to mention about the multiplayer, though, is if you lone wolf or try and do things on your own, you will be destroyed. As you have seen, I've already failed on my own because, basically, I tried to do things on my own, didn't quite work out. So you've got to work together as a team, and obviously, I like to play as a team player in various games, so this suits me down to the ground. But don't lone wolf. Stick with partners. The people you're playing against the enemies with, and you'll be fine. Certainly, the first few games where you have no equipment are really, really tough and tricky. Do not be surprised if you do not succeed, but keep with it, honestly. When you start to unlock bits and bobs for the character, the work you'll have put in certainly becomes worth it. So stick with it. It is difficult for sure to start with, but once you get going, you'll have a whale of a time, and all that hard work will pay off, and certainly, at least in my experience, the effort will have been worth it. The multiplayer, very impressed indeed. The tools and things they give you, I like very much, and I'm really looking forward to playing more multiplayer. Every second I can, and actually, to be fair, that goes for the single player as well. But it's all well and good saying you're looking forward to playing the multiplayer, the single player, but how do you actually play? How do I actually move around the environment and do things? I hope you see the segue I'm trying to put together here poorly. So a couple of you have asked, how do I actually go about playing first-person shooter games? What are my tactics? Well, very happy to oblige, first of all. Thank you for the suggestion. And I had hoped to, put like a clip show together with, arrows and things pointing out, look, there's a person here, I better engage them, etc. The problem is that I just don't have the time to put something like that together. So what I've decided to do, I had decided to do last week, is try and talk you through it live. Unfortunately, that didn't quite work, things being live and all, and I don't think it got really the discussion it needed, so I'm now going to discuss it now for the final 6 or so minutes I'm here going to be talking for. So, OODA is this thing I play to. Observe, orientate, decide, act. And, like many things, really, it's something I've been doing for a very long time, but I've only found out recently that it's actually, if you will, a written about and documented strategy for decision making. It's basically a strategy which does what it says on the tin. Observe, orientate, decide, and act. And the trick is to repeat that cycle of actions, things to do, as quickly as you physically can. And by doing that, you'll start to make better decisions. And by making better decisions, you'll start to, play better, succeed more, etc. So, a lot of it, to be honest, is common sense. So, for example, at the observe step, you look at your environment, you take in what's going on around you. The orientate step, you make you have a look at what's going on, you move yourself, you position yourself to put you, at the most beneficial standpoint you possibly can for that situation. For example, fighting that big Geth Prime there. Being behind cover was certainly a good idea, rather than being stood out in the open and, getting stompled on. Stompled? Stompled? What am I on about? Stamped on. It's better to be behind cover. Decide. Decide is just, again, what it says on the tin. Decide what you're going to do, but then immediately to act. Actually act on that decision. No hesitation. And it's one of those things, or this loop is one of these things where basically the more you do it, the more you integrate it into your gameplay, the more second nature it will become, and as a result, you'll be able to make even more decisions and go even faster around this loop to get even better work done. I don't know. So what I'll do now, if I can, is kind of talk you through what I'm doing. So, for instance, you've seen me a lot in this game. I've been sat up in this position. Why? Well, I can observe a very large area of the environment here. I have a sniper rifle. Its strength is at range. Why not? So I'm looking at the area. I'm spotting targets. I'm calling them out to Matt and Tom as appropriate. And what I'm doing is I'm sort of looking at the threats going on. And depending on what's going on, I'm making the decision to orientate myself either to line up a shot or take a shot, and then deciding to take the shot and then actually doing it. So, as we're playing this, you can see, there's a lot of things going on here, a lot of kills going on. What we're doing as well at the same time, and this is equally as important, is we're talking to each other. We're saying, hostiles over here, hostiles over there. And what we're doing dynamically on the fly is we are going to back each other up. So, for instance, Tom there was a lot of guys in that tunnel that had a few guys coming up on his flank. And I'm calling these guys out now in the courtyard, sort of saying, look, there are some free kills here, guys, if you want them. By moving, thinking about what I'm doing, deciding, for example, to shout out, I'm being overwhelmed here, and doing so, it's, well, helping me get the job done, keeping me alive, and, well, helping other players at the same time to do well, enjoy the game. For instance, I was in a bad situation there, no ammunition, he'd caught me completely off guard. Matt or Tom, I forget who, comes in with the incinerate, finishes the guy off. So OODA, it's fairly straightforward. I'll say it again, observe, orientate, decide, act. Helps if I get it in the right order. And literally, guys, just try and work it into your... This will get a weird glitch with Tom firing his weapon when he's actually not. Yeah, just literally try and work it into your playstyle. It won't be something which can happen overnight. It'll take a little bit of time. But literally by looking at the environment, things around you, and making a decision without hesitation, and thinking, in the long term where possible as well, that'll help you massively. Take, for instance, the situation on Damavan Peak in Battlefield 3, free flag conquest. If you have a 3 flag cap, and the enemy get a helicopter around your back, they can start a very powerful counterattack if you don't deal with it. Situations like that. You observe the situation, you orientate yourself, you move yourself so you can deal with it. You decide what you're going to do and you're going to do it. And that is literally all there is to it. I live by this, and it works in more than just, for example, shooting games. If you think about it, this is the exact same process you should be doing when you drive a car. You observe your environment, you position the car the best you can, you decide to do it, and you actually do it. It's something which can be applied in everyday life and everyday games, to be honest, and it's very powerful. It's how I play games, and certainly I hope that now that I've talked about it a little bit, you'll be able to integrate it into your play style and, well, have more fun playing games too. Now, I'm very aware that I've kind of had to rush this a bit, and who knows, I might have to put together this little clip show I was thinking of anyway. So guys, if you have any, if you at all want me to talk about this OODA thing some more, or Mass Effect or anything at all really, by all means, just pop it down in the comments below, and I'm more than happy to talk some more for it. And in fact, while I think about it, I've had several requests for various games and things to play. And essentially, as a bit of a heads up, obviously Wednesdays are Battlefield days. Will be Challenge Chuggy, for example, next Wednesday. Me running around with a knife, how exciting! And well, on Friday I'm going to be bringing you some Gran Turismo 5. A lot of you have asked for it, and well, I finally got around to getting some nice gameplay from it, some karting gameplay, no less. And essentially, guys, if you have any suggestions at all, for example, I've had a few more requests for Skyrim, that will be coming shortly as well, by all means, pop them down below, and basically I'm going to try and process them in a first in, first out kind of basis. Anyway, guys, that was the gameplay. I hope you enjoyed it. Mass Effect is an incredible game, despite its flaws. Go and get it, even if you haven't played the previous two games. And OODA, it's a very, very powerful tactic once you get your head around it. Anyway, guys, I better shut up now. So thank you very much for watching, as always. If you could leave a like, dislike, whatever you believe the video deserves, that'd be fantastic. And I'll see you next time out on the battlefield.